All right, buckle up, everybody, because we are diving deep into ancient India with the Oath of the Vayuputras. This is the final book in Amish's Shiva trilogy, and
Oh, I'm excited about this one. I think this
yeah,
will be fun.
it's
Yeah.
based on the excerpts, at least. It's a total roller coaster.
Yeah.
Gods, tribes, ancient weapons, a mystical elixir. It's got it all.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we're going to be able to explore some really deep questions about good versus evil, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is the good stuff.
Yeah. Are you ready to unpack this one with me?
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, so
Yeah, the way Amish blends Indian mythology and history,
yeah.
I think is what makes this series so captivating, right? We're not just getting like some surface level adventure.
Yeah.
We're diving into the cultural and the philosophical depths of ancient India.
Exactly.
I love it.
So we should probably set the stage a little bit. So we're in ancient India, a land of, tons of different kingdoms and different tribes.
Right.
The story centers around Shiva, a powerful warrior who believes that this life-giving elixir called summaries has become a source of evil.
Yes, and that's where things get interesting.
Yeah.
Because the story isn't this like black and white, good versus evil situation. It digs into the nuances of morality.
Right.
So, Shiva is challenging traditions that have been around for a really long time, and even those who agree with him are afraid of the consequences of destroying something that's so ingrained in their society.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me a little bit more about the summaries. What makes it so central to this story?
So the Summaries has been seen as this source of life, prosperity, immortality, even for centuries.
Right.
And it's woven into every aspect of Meluhan culture, even their manufacturing processes.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like it's like a foundational element of this entire society.
Exactly.
Okay, so if it's this great, then why is Shiva trying to destroy it?
Well, that's the thing. So in the excerpts you sent, they mentioned some pretty disturbing consequences.
Right.
Things like poisoned rivers, birth defects, and a declining birth rate among the Meluhans.
Yes. Okay, so the Summaries is actually starting to have all of these negative downstream effects.
Exactly. The book reveals that there's a dark side to the Summaries, showing how something initially beneficial can become corrupt and destructive over time. The environmental damage, the manipulation of belief systems to justify its use, it raises these serious questions about how power structures can exploit resources, even those that are initially meant for good.
Okay, so that leads into some of these key players that we meet in the excerpts.
Right.
So first off, we've got Shiva, our protagonist, a warrior, very much guided by his unwavering beliefs.
Yeah.
And then there's his wife, Sati, who's like a skilled warrior in her own right.
Yes, exactly.
And then you can't forget their sons, Ganesh and Kartik.
Right.
They're both warriors, but they have these really distinct personalities.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Which really add another layer of...
I think the family dynamics play into this larger conflict.
Yes.
You've also got characters like Brigu, a powerful sage who represents that traditionalist viewpoint, the unwavering belief in the Somras.
Okay.
And then on the other side, you have Parvaseshwar, who's this Meluhan general who's torn between his loyalty to his country and his belief in Shiva.
Okay.
His internal struggle is a key element, I think, reflecting the moral dilemmas at the heart of the story.
Yeah, okay. So it sounds like everyone's caught in this web of conflicting loyalties and beliefs. And then there's this other group that we've got to talk about. The Vayuputras, this mysterious tribe that are sworn to protect ancient knowledge and these incredibly powerful weapons.
They're crucial to the story.
Yeah.
These weapons, by the way, are called Astras.
Okay.
And the Vayuputras train Shiva, and they hold the key to controlling the most destructive weapon of all, the Astra. But there's a catch. They have a strict code forbidding its use.
Okay.
So, Shiva is facing this impossible decision.
Yeah.
Adhere to the law or unleash this devastating power to stop what he sees as a growing evil.
Oh, man, that's a tough one. All right, so talk about a moral dilemma.
It is.
And then it just gets worse because Sati is tragically killed during what was supposed to be a peace conference, right?
Yes, it's a pivotal moment.
But it's
devastating turning point.
Yeah, Sati's death isn't just a personal tragedy for Shiva. It symbolizes the escalating brutality of this conflict.
Yeah.
And raises a huge question. can violence, even with good intentions,
Right.
ever truly be justified?
Especially when you're talking about weapons as powerful as
Especially.
Pashupatiastra, right?
Right.
Okay, so now we have a grief-stricken Shiva who's potentially about to break this sacred law. What happens next?
Well, the excerpts, they hint at Shiva maybe losing control, and his grief is actually making his powers more volatile. And remember,
Right.
he is the Neelkamp.
Yeah.
His powers are tied to his emotional state.
Right. So the more his anger grows,
Yeah.
the more dangerous he becomes.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It adds a whole other layer to the idea of good versus evil, right?
Yeah. Is he becoming the very thing that he's trying to fight? This is getting intense.
Yes, and it gets even more complex when you consider the origins of the Vayuputras.
Okay.
The excerpts suggest that they have ties to the Asuras.
Wait, the Asuras? I thought they were like the bad guys.
They're often portrayed that way, yes, in Indian mythology.
Okay.
But in the Oath of Vayuputras, we're seeing a different perspective.
Yeah.
They believe in accepting members based on merit, not birthright. So even former enemies can find common ground.
And work together for this greater good.
That's a really interesting twist. It seems like this book is challenging, like the very idea of good and evil being fixed categories.
Absolutely, yeah.
What else can you tell me about the Vayuputras and their role?
So the Vayuputras, they're all about knowledge and wisdom. They understand the power of the Pashupatiastra and the importance of using it responsibly.
Yeah.
So they don't just hand Shiva the weapon.
Right.
They put him through this intense training,
Okay.
teaching him not just how to use it, but also how to control his emotions, how to think strategically.
Oh, so
Yeah.
it's more than just like learning to fire a weapon.
Right.
It's about like self-mastery.
It is.
And making sure your actions align with your beliefs.
Yeah.
Especially when you have that much power
Yes.
at your fingertips.
Exactly. It's a journey of self-discovery as much as it is a fight against evil. And, you know, while Shiva's off training with the Vayuputras back in India, things are escalating.
Okay. So while Shiva's off training with the Vayuputras back in India, things are really heating up.
Oh, yeah.
The battle lines are being drawn, and, you know, based on these excerpts, there's some serious political maneuvering going on.
Yes, the excerpts give us a glimpse of these complex alliances
Yeah.
and shifting loyalties that are really driving the conflict.
Okay.
So we see the Meluhan emperor, Daksha. He's totally under the influence of Brigu,
Right.
who's convinced that the summaries is essential no matter the cost.
Right.
And you've got Dilipa, the Ayodhyan emperor,
Yeah.
who's caught between trying to appease Brigu,
Right.
but also his growing unease with the methods being used to protect the summaries.
And then we've got Parvateshwar,
Yes?
the Milohan general who believes in Shiva but is also,
Right.
you know, sworn to defend his country.
It seems like everyone is struggling with where their loyalties lie.
Yeah, it's a real mess.
Yeah.
And then on top of all of that, you can't forget about the Brangas,
Yeah.
who are like suffering from the effects of the summer's waste.
Right, they're on the front lines of
Yeah.
Summer's destruction.
Yeah.
The rivers are poisoned, the people are suffering.
Right. They have a whole other set of grievances
Oh, exactly.
against Meluha.
They're ready to join Shiva's cause,
Yeah.
even if it means going against the most powerful empire in the land.
Okay, so it sounds like a powder keg ready to explode. The excerpts also mention some pretty intense battles.
Oh, yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit more about what we should expect?
The book does not shy away from the brutality of war.
Okay.
The excerpts show us glimpses of these epic confrontations, like the siege of Mridakavadi, where Sati and then the devastating attacks on Devagiri.
So we get a sense of like, you know,
You see the strategic maneuvers,
Yeah.
the tactical brilliance.
yeah, but it also sounds like we see the human cost of these battles.
Yes, Amish portrays the emotional impact of war beautifully.
Mm.
You see the courage of the soldiers, the sacrifices they make,
Right.
the grief they experience.
Yeah.
It's not just about winning or losing.
Right.
It's about the enduring strength of the human spirit,
Yeah.
even in the face of unimaginable loss.
Okay, so speaking of unimaginable loss, we know Sati is dead, and Shiva is on this quest for vengeance,
Right.
potentially with the most powerful weapon in existence.
Exactly.
Do these excerpts give us any clues about what's going to happen?
Well, the big question is, will Shiva actually unleash the Pashupatiastra?
Oh, right.
The excerpts definitely set us up for this final, potentially cataclysmic confrontation,
Yeah.
but they also hint at some unexpected twists.
Okay.
For example, there's this growing unrest among the Meluhans themselves.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it seems that some of them are starting to question their emperor's action
Okay.
and the corrupting influence of the Samras.
So even within, like, the heart of the empire
Yeah.
that benefits from the Samras, there are these cracks appearing. Okay, so people are starting to wake up to the truth.
They are, and there's another twist.
Oh, okay.
Remember Kartik,
Shiva's son.
Shiva's son?
Okay.
The excerpts suggest that he's secretly working to save the knowledge of the Samras.
Wait, what? Why would he want to preserve
I know, right?
something that's causing so much destruction?
It's a fascinating part. Kartik believes that while the Samras is evil now, it might not always be.
Okay.
He's thinking long term.
Right.
He's recognizing that history is cyclical and that knowledge, even dangerous knowledge, should be preserved.
It's a complex.
It is a very complex and thought-provoking idea.
All right, so we've got Shiva potentially about to unleash a weapon of mass destruction.
Yeah.
Meluhans starting to question their leaders. Kartik is on this secret mission to preserve the very thing that his father wants to destroy. Plus, there's still this whole mystery surrounding Shiva's family history
Exactly.
and the connection to Pariya.
It sounds like the final act of the Oath of the Vayuputras is going to be a wild ride.
Oh, yeah.
We've only just scratched the surface here.
Yeah.
I have a feeling the full story will be even more intense, more thought-provoking, more emotionally resonant.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
I am too.
Let's dive into the final part of this deep dive
Okay.
and see how it all unfolds. Okay, so we're in the final act of the Oath of the Vayuputras.
Yeah.
The Meluhan Empire is like teetering on the edge.
Right.
Shiva's wrestling with this unimaginable grief and power.
Yes.
And the fate of ancient India hangs in the balance.
It does. What happens next?
I think the excerpts really highlight
Yeah.
the tension and moral ambiguity
Right.
of this final confrontation, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was getting ready to unleash the Pashupatiastra,
Right.
which is this weapon capable of unimaginable destruction.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like a clear-cut case of good versus evil,
Right.
but the book challenges us to look beyond the surface.
It does, because even though Samras has become this corrupting force.
Shiva's quest for vengeance is starting to have its own consequences, right?
Exactly.
He's pushing away those closest to him,
Yeah.
even like his own sons.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's losing himself.
Yeah, he's losing himself in his grief and rage.
Yeah,
It's a classic tragic hero arc, isn't it?
it really is.
Shiva, the savior, the Neelkanth, is in danger of becoming the very thing he's trying to destroy.
Yeah,
His anger and grief are warping his perception.
it's heartbreaking to see him like this, especially after losing Sati.
Right.
Is there anyone who can reach him, who can remind him of like who he truly is?
Well, the excerpts
Yeah.
show us this glimmer of hope.
Okay.
In the form of Varini, Shiva's mother,
Okay.
she arrives in Devagiri,
Yeah.
not to fight,
Right.
but to appeal to Shiva's heart.
Yeah, she reminds him of his promise to Sati
Yes.
to cremate her body alongside their sons.
It's such a poignant moment.
It is.
It's like she's not trying to control him
Right.
or change his mind. She's simply trying to reconnect him with his humanity,
Right.
with the love that transcends even like the deepest sorrow and anger.
Yeah, it's this reminder that sometimes compassion and understanding can be more powerful than any weapon.
It is.
But even as Varini's trying to reason with Shiva, the people of Devagiri are facing their own reckoning.
Right, they are.
What happens to them? Like, knowing that this weapon of mass destruction is about to be unleashed on their city?
It's a city facing its doom.
Right.
And the excerpts show us like a range of responses.
Okay.
Some flee in terror,
Yeah, understandably.
hoping to escape the destruction.
Yeah.
But others, recognizing the corruption that's taken root in their city, they choose to stay.
Wow.
They see their own complicity in the spread of this evil.
Right.
And they believe that facing the consequences, even death,
Right.
is the only way to find redemption.
It's tragic, but also incredibly powerful.
It is.
They're choosing to, like, confront their own mortality
right.
and atone for their part in what's happened.
Yeah. And then there's Vijunmali.
Right, the Meluhan general.
He's offered a chance to escape,
Yeah,
but he refuses.
he chooses duty, loyalty to his city, even if it means certain death.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, is he a villain? Or is he just a man
Right.
caught in impossible circumstances?
It's hard to know
It is hard to know.
what to make of him.
Yeah, and that's what makes the Oath of the Vayuputras so compelling, right?
Yeah.
The lines between hero and villain, they're blurred.
Yeah, and we see that with characters like Brigu and Daksha.
Right. You see characters like Brigu,
Yeah.
so convinced of the Somra's necessity, and Daksha clinging to power at any cost.
Right.
They both believe they're doing the right thing, even as their actions lead to suffering and destruction.
And then you have Parvateshwar.
Yes, Parvateshwar.
Ultimately chooses to stand with Shiva.
He does.
Even though it means betraying his country.
Right.
Like, he's another example of someone caught between these conflicting loyalties.
Yeah. Forced to make an impossible choice.
Absolutely.
And then there's Kartik.
Right. We can't forget about Kartik.
Who's secretly working to save this knowledge of the Samras.
Right.
Which is crazy because his dad is about to destroy it.
I know, right? He believes that even if it's a force for evil now,
Yeah.
it could be beneficial in the future.
Yeah, and it's a risky move.
It is.
That could have some major repercussions.
Definitely.
He's thinking about, like, the long game, right?
He is the cyclical nature of history. He understands that what's considered evil in one era might be seen as beneficial in another.
Right.
He's challenging us to think beyond our immediate perspectives.
It's fascinating.
It is.
It makes you think, right?
It does. It all comes back to the central question, though.
Yeah.
Does Shiva actually unleash the Pashupati Astra?
Right.
Do the excerpts give us any indication of what happens in the final moments of this book?
They build up the suspense, that's for sure.
They do.
But we're left with, like, a lot of unanswered questions. We see these hints of a possible rebellion.
Yeah, brewing within Malua.
And Shiva's own sons seem to be questioning his path.
Yeah.
So it feels like anything could happen.
Anything could happen. The excerpts make it clear, though, that the destruction of Devagiri, if it even happens, isn't the end of the story.
Right.
It's a turning point, a catalyst for change.
Okay.
But the true consequences of Shiva's actions, the meaning of his oath, might not be fully understood for generations to come.
So what are the big takeaways here? Like, what should we be thinking about after this deep dive?
I think the Oath of the Vayuputras challenges us to examine our own beliefs about good and evil, power, and the consequences of our choices.
It's like a reminder that there are rarely easy answers.
Rarely easy answers, yeah.
And even the best intentions can lead to destruction.
Absolutely.
And like every action, it has these ripple effects that extend way beyond ourselves.
Exactly.
It's a powerful message.
It is.
That makes you think about like your own place in the world.
Yeah, your own responsibility to make choices that align with your values, even when it's hard.
Yeah, and I think the book also leaves us with this question, right?
Yes, it does.
Like, what happens when the dust settles?
What kind of world emerges from the ashes of Devagiri?
What will be the lasting legacy?
Right.
Shiva's oath.
Yeah, those are some heavy questions.
Those are some heavy questions.
It's clear that the Oath of the Vayuputras is more than just a fantasy adventure.
It is.
It's a story that stays with you.
Yeah.
Makes you think about the big questions. Maybe even challenges you to look at the world a little differently.
I agree. Well, thank you so much for guiding us through this incredible deep dive.
Oh, it's been my pleasure.
I feel like I learned so much, not just about the story, but about history and philosophy, the complexities of human nature.
Absolutely, yeah. And to the listener, I encourage you to, dive into this full story of the Oath of the Vayuputras and discover its secrets for yourself. It's a journey well worth taking.
It really is. All right, everybody, thanks for listening.
Thank you.